The first time I realized something was wrong was not when I found the note, not when I saw the bed cold and empty beside me, or the silence that hung over the house like a wet tarp. No, the moment everything cracked open was exactly 23 hours earlier in a conference room downtown, when my hand closed around a pen and signed a deal worth $10 million. That was the last moment I remember feeling in control. The very next breath, everything started unraveling. I remember every detail about that room. It smelled like old leather and glass cleaner. The air conditioner was too strong, the kind that buzzed like it was trying to confess something. Across from me sat three men in suits too crisp to be real, their smiles sharp, rehearsed. My own lawyer looked like he hadn't slept in days. And me? I was calm. I was built for this. The final signature. The deal closed. My phone buzzed in my pocket before the ink even dried. It was a text from Erica. How'd it go? I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I knew she'd see the bag. That bag was my badge of triumph. Black leather, zipped to the edge, heavy with what looked like cash. I made sure the weight was just right. Inside were stacks of paper, real looking, but every bill was a blank. They weren't even cut evenly. A sloppy copy job I paid a paranoid counterfeiter for in cash and silence. Tucked inside, a GPS tag, no bigger than my thumb, slipped between the bundles. That bag wasn't a gift, it was bait. And I needed to know if the person I loved most would bite. When I got home, Erica was already dressed. Lip gloss, perfume, tight black dress. Like she was waiting to be seen. You're early, she said. You're dressed, I said. She smiled. Celebration dinner, right? I watched her eyes flick to the bag. She tried to hide it. She was good, but I caught it. That brief shimmer of interest. A twitch in the corner of her mouth. I played dumb. Had to pick it up from the lawyer's office, I said, setting it down on the table. The thud echoed a little too loud in the quiet kitchen. She walked over, put her hand on my chest. Her fingers brushed the collar of my shirt. You did it, she whispered. I'm proud of you. I kissed her forehead. Didn't say a word. My eyes were on the bag. We ate dinner like strangers trying to imitate love. She kept pouring wine. Her eyes didn't quite meet mine. When I asked what she did that day, she told me about a yoga class I knew she didn't attend. She mentioned meeting Lindsay for lunch, a friend I hadn't heard her talk about in 6 months. Her stories unraveled so quickly I could see the seams. After dinner, I said I needed a shower. I left the bag on the kitchen counter. 10 minutes later, I peeked through the crack in the bathroom door. She was on the phone, standing by the bag, whispering. I heard the words, "He's asleep." She turned, caught a glimpse of her reflection in the window, and smiled. It was the kind of smile you give yourself when the plan is already in motion. That was the second moment, the real one, when I knew. Not suspected. Knew. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay still, breathing slow. I felt the bed shift when she slid in beside me. Her scent was different. Like hotel soap. Cheap perfume. Not hers. She kissed my cheek and whispered, "I love you." It was the first time in months she'd said it. And that's when it hit me. She thought this was goodbye. She thought she'd already won. I closed my eyes. And I smiled. I woke up before sunrise. Not because I set an alarm, not because of a noise. My body just knew. That strange kind of alertness only born in moments of primal survival, when every nerve is already bracing for impact before you know why. The bed beside me was still warm, but empty. I stared at the ceiling, letting the silence throb. No birds, no cars, just a thick, syrupy quiet pressing in on all sides. My eyes adjusted to the faint blue light of morning bleeding through the curtains. I could smell her perfume faintly in the sheets. That knockoff sweetness she wore when she wanted attention, when she wanted someone else to think she wasn't mine. I sat up slowly. Her side of the closet was half open. Some hangers were missing. I stood, opened the drawer where she kept her jewelry, empty. The corner of the vanity where she tossed her makeup bags, bare. Her favorite black heels were gone from the rack. The Gucci purse I bought her last Christmas, gone. My breath was calm, but only on the surface. Underneath, a storm was starting to roll. I walked into the kitchen. The table was empty. The bag was gone. And next to the fruit bowl, carefully centered on the polished surface, was a white envelope. No name. No stamp. Just one clean fold. I stared at it for a second. No rush. No panic. I could feel it in my gut. This was it. The note that would make everything real. I picked it up. Opened it. I'm starting over. Don't come looking. You'll be fine. You always land on your feet. No love, Erica. No apology. Not even a damn goodbye. Just that. Like I was some failed job she was clocking out of. I stood there for a while, holding the note between my fingers. It trembled slightly, but not from shock. I was smiling. She really thought she got away with it. That's the thing. You only get one shot at betrayal. And she wasted it. See, I'd known about her for a while. I knew about the guy with the Tesla who always parked 2 streets down. I knew about the spa appointments that ended with her hair messy and her lipstick smudged. I knew about the lies, little at first, then bigger, sloppier, like she stopped caring if I figured it out. She thought I was too buried in work. She thought I didn't notice her disappearing every other Thursday. She thought I didn't hear her giggle at text messages in the bathroom with the door cracked. She thought I was too proud of myself to suspect that someone would be stupid enough to betray me. But I don't play blind. I play patient. That bag, that beautiful black leather trap, it held nothing but stacks of blank paper and a tiny black GPS tracker tucked deep in the bottom seam. Battery life, 72 hours. Location updates, every 5 minutes. She thought she was leaving with 10 million. She was actually carrying a flashlight through a maze with me holding the map. I brewed a pot of coffee, sat down at the kitchen table with her note still in hand. No messages from her. Of course not. She was trying to disappear, reinvent herself. Probably thought she'd vanish into thin air and emerge on a beach somewhere, giggling beside some new idiot who thought she was magic. I opened my laptop, launched the tracker app. It loaded. Signal acquired. She wasn't far. Not yet. And I had time. Because this wasn't about getting the bag back. This was about watching her realize, slowly, horribly, that she never held anything real. That every step she took thinking she won was actually a step deeper into the game I designed. Checkmate takes time. And I had plenty. She made it exactly 62 miles before stopping. I watched her little red dot blink into stillness on the screen, parked behind some gas station off Route 4. I zoomed in, grainy satellite feed. But the spot looked secluded, quiet, surrounded by cracked pavement and weedy lots. A perfect place for someone to check the goods. I could imagine her there. Engine off, fingers trembling with anticipation. That greedy glint in her eye. She probably slid the bag into her lap like it was sacred. Unzipped it slowly. Imagined her new life unfolding with every stack of those paper bricks. And then, silence. No screaming. No calls. No frantic texts. Because Erica wasn't the dramatic type. No, she was composed, poised. She wouldn't panic. Not right away. She'd stare down into that sea of blank paper, trying to rationalize it. Maybe it's a decoy. Maybe the real money's hidden inside the house. Maybe I grabbed the wrong bag. Anything but the truth that she was never in control. I leaned back in my chair, sipped the last of my coffee, cold now, and waited. I knew what came next. She wouldn't go back home. That would be too obvious. And too dangerous. What if I was waiting? What if I knew? No, she'd try to vanish. She'd call someone. She'd need a plan. And that's when I saw it. The red dot started moving again. Southbound. Slower this time. Hesitant. She was thinking. Plotting. I tapped the desk twice, slid my chair back, and stood. I had 24 hours until the battery on that GPS gave out. After that, she could disappear for real. And I wasn't going to let that happen. I grabbed my duffel. Inside, change of clothes, burner phone, second wallet, and something else, small, black, cold, and loaded. I didn't plan to use it. But you pack for what you can't predict. As I headed out the door, I walked past the spot where the bag had been. Gone, just like her. But unlike her, it never betrayed me. The first time I met Erica, she worked the front desk at an upscale gallery in Chicago. Long legs, sharp voice. That calculating confidence some people mistake for elegance. I should have known. She looked at me like I was an opportunity. And I let her. Back then, I wanted something stable. Something I could come home to. Someone to believe in me. Erica gave me that for a while. She laughed at my bad jokes, played the devoted wife. She held my hand through the grind years, through failed deals and dry months. She smiled when I promised her the future, and she waited, patiently, until the moment she thought she could take it all. I slid behind the wheel, GPS feed mounted to my dash, her dot pulsing steady. Now she was parked again. Motel, maybe. Somewhere cheap and anonymous. I pulled onto the freeway. The miles peeled away under my tires like old skin. I kept thinking about her face when she saw those blanks. Did her hands shake? Did she tear through the stacks, convinced there had to be real money somewhere? She always underestimated me. Always thought I was the boring one. The workhorse. The safe bet. But you don't build what I've built without learning how to read people. How to wait. How to trap. By the time I reached the motel, it was dark. Neon sign flickering. One of those places with hourly rates and rooms that smelled like rust and Lysol. Her car was parked at the far end of the lot, crooked, like she pulled in fast. I didn't go in. Not yet. Instead, I parked 2 rows behind her, turned off my lights, and watched. I knew someone would come, because Erica never worked alone. She wasn't smart enough to plan this by herself. And sure enough, 20 minutes later, a second car pulled in. Silver Lexus. Windows tinted. It parked beside hers. Engine stayed running. And she walked out of the room. Tight jeans. Loose blouse. Hair tied up. Different from this morning. No heels now. No jewelry. Just the essentials. She opened the passenger door, leaned in, and kissed someone. Not a greeting. Not a cheek. A full, deep kiss. I couldn't see his face. But I didn't need to. I'd seen that Lexus before. In our driveway. At night. When she said she was going to Pilates. My fingers gripped the wheel so tight the leather groaned. But I didn't move. Not yet. She still thought this was her game. And I wasn't done letting her think that. She was laughing. That was the part one couldn't stomach. Standing in the shadows, engine off, lights dead, watching her toss her head back like a goddamn teenager in love. That high-pitched fake laugh she used to cover discomfort, now weaponized to charm him. She wasn't just leaving me. She was celebrating. As if this whole thing had been one big heist, and she'd just pulled it off. I knew the man. Of course I did. Nathan Willis. 43. Divorced. 2 kids he barely mentioned. Ran a string of boutique investment firms that shuffled money more than they actually earned it. Lived in a rented high-rise that screamed temporary success. The kind of guy who always wore suits one size too tight and called waitresses sweetheart. He was also my former college roommate. And once, he was my closest friend. Until I introduced him to Erica. That had been almost 3 years ago. I remembered the night. Rooftop bar, champagne in her glass, whiskey in ours, and something too long in the way they looked at each other. I brushed it off back then. Told myself I was overthinking. Trusted them. They say betrayal hurts more when it comes from someone close. They're wrong. It doesn't just hurt. It detonates something inside you. Rewires you. Makes you sharper. Colder. More exact. I had already started planting breadcrumbs the moment I suspected them months ago. Small traps. Questions I'd repeat weeks later to catch inconsistencies. Stories that changed just slightly. Erica said she met Nathan at a charity event last fall. Funny. Nathan told me they bumped into each other at a gallery opening in February. Neither existed. I'd tested both of them. Separately. Casually. Never enough to raise alarms. Just enough to map their lies. And now, here they were, under yellow motel lights, standing inches from each other like the world had vanished. He popped the trunk. She placed the bag inside. His hand brushed her waist. She leaned into it. My hand moved to the burner phone in my jacket pocket. One click to open the camera. I didn't even need the zoom. Click, click, click. She wouldn't see it coming. She thought this was the end of her story with me. That she'd wake up tomorrow, far away, with a fake name and a real man who loved her lies. She didn't know this was just the second act. They disappeared into the room. I didn't follow. Not yet. Instead, I drove 2 blocks down to a 24-hour diner. Sat in a corner booth. Ordered black coffee and a slice of pie I wouldn't touch. Opened my laptop. Tethered it to the burner. And logged into the GPS app again. Still active. Still strong. Battery, 43%. More than enough. But I didn't stop there. While they were inside, too wrapped up in each other to worry, I accessed the second piece of insurance I'd buried in the bag. A tiny audio transmitter, same size as the GPS chip, disguised inside a fake dollar bill. The mic wasn't top quality, couldn't pick up every whisper, but I'd get the tones, the loud bits, the confessions. I hit stream, and there it was. Her voice, fuzzy through motel walls and old speakers, but clear enough to know her tone. You should have seen his face when I told him I was leaving. Nathan laughed. Low. Arrogant. Bet he cried. Always had that pathetic loyalty streak. I stared at the screen. My thumb hovered above the record button. Clicked it. I can't believe he actually left the whole bag out like that, she continued. It was too easy. God, what an idiot. She didn't even sound bitter. Just amused. Like she wasn't talking about a husband, but some stranger she outsmarted. Nathan's voice again, lower this time, maybe on the bed. You really think it's clean? No tricks? No strings? Erica scoffed. Please. If he had brains, I'd still be home. I closed the laptop. Didn't feel rage. Didn't feel heartbreak. What I felt was clarity. They just handed me everything I needed. Photos. Voice recordings. A motive. A man with a record of fraud accusations. None stuck, but plenty documented. A woman with no idea her lies had expiration dates. And me? The husband they thought they buried under fake smiles and blank bills. I dropped a 20 on the table and walked out. Back to my car. Back to the motel. This wasn't about catching them anymore. It was about choosing the perfect moment and making them feel it. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't need to. Some moments in life sharpen you, strip you down to instinct. And right now, every fiber of my being was tuned like wire, humming with purpose. I wasn't acting on impulse. No rage-fueled outbursts. No blind revenge. What I was crafting was cleaner than that. Precise. Controlled. They left the motel just before dawn. I was already parked 2 rows over, leaned back in my seat, sipping coffee I didn't taste. The Lexus pulled out first. Nathan at the wheel, sunglasses already on, as if he had something worth hiding behind them. Erica followed in my car. My car. She took the keys right from the counter drawer and didn't even bother to lock the front door when she left. That part still stung. Not because of the car, hell, I could buy 10 more now, but because it told me how little I mattered in her grand escape plan. Just another asset. Another stepping stone. I tailed them from a distance. 2 exits down the highway, they split. Nathan kept going west. Erica veered off at Meadowbrook, a sleepy town with nothing but dollar stores, vape shops, and motels pretending to be resorts. She pulled into a red-roofed 2-story dump with a faded banner that read, Weekly Specials, no ID required. Nice. So this was the hideout. Not a beach villa. Not an international flight. A roach motel 20 minutes from our home, like she was too lazy to vanish properly. Or maybe she thought I wouldn't chase her this far. She always imagined I'd collapse without her. That I'd mourn. But mourning isn't what I do. I parked a block away, walked the rest of the distance, and found an alley that gave me full view of the motel's back lot. Waited. Watched her unpack. Watched her drag the bag into room 18 like she was smuggling treasure. Then I made a call. Not to the police. Not to friends. I called someone she didn't know I knew. His name was Logan. Pi. Ex-military. No social media. No family photos. No nonsense. I'd hired him 6 months ago when I first got suspicious. He'd already tailed Erica twice, sent me timestamps, videos, addresses. Enough to confirm the affair, but I hadn't confronted her yet. I wanted more. No, I wanted everything. Activate the bank moves, I said the moment he answered. Sure, he asked. She opened that safe, I replied. It's game time. Logan whistled low. Copy. I'll scrub what needs scrubbing. I hung up. You see, the money from the deal wasn't just in one account. Hell, it wasn't even in my name. When the contracts closed, I moved the funds into a layered nest of LLCs I controlled through proxies. I even made a fake wire confirmation for Erica to see if she ever peeked into my files. Everything she thought was real was smoke. What she did have access to was her own account. The one I'd been quietly padding for 6 months with weekly $2,000 reimbursements for personal expenses. All documented. All traceable. All taxable. Now that she'd made her move, I froze it. She'd wake up broke by noon. I watched from the alley as she came outside again. phone to her ear, pacing. Angry now. She was yelling at someone, probably Nathan. I wished I could hear the words, but her body language told the story. She was realizing things weren't adding up. I grinned. She thought the world would hand her everything just because she took it. She was about to learn the difference between owning something and stealing it. I sent Logan one more text. Need a full dig on Nathan. Bank records. Phone logs. Give me dirt. His reply came a few seconds later. Already halfway there. You're gonna like this. Oh, I bet I would. Because the thing about snakes? They always coil together. And I was ready to burn the whole pit down. By late afternoon, Erica hadn't moved. I figured she was stewing inside that crappy motel room, replaying every moment, trying to figure out how the plan went sideways. Maybe she was even starting to doubt Nathan. Maybe she wondered if he double-crossed her. Maybe she'd start to panic. Good. I wanted her paranoid. I wanted her to feel it, the unraveling, the helplessness. And while she did, I was sitting in a coffee shop one town over, reviewing the file Logan sent me on Nathan. It was glorious. 3 years ago, lawsuit from a former partner, settled quietly, NDA in place. 2 years ago, domestic disturbance call from a neighbor, claimed verbal dispute with a woman. No charges, but there was a report. And just last fall, an SEC investigation. Low profile. No formal case. But flagged for unusual financial activity. This guy wasn't just a scumbag. He was sloppy. And I was going to make him radioactive. I emailed copies of the files to 2 anonymous tip lines, one to the SEC, the other to a local business watchdog blog. I knew how to write it. Just vague enough to be credible. Just detailed enough to ignite suspicion. They'd sniff around. They always did. And once the fire started, Nathan would be too busy putting it out to notice the blade slipping between his ribs. But I wasn't finished. Next came the letter. Typed, printed, folded clean. To whom it may concern. The woman in room 18 of the Meadowbrook Inn is in possession of a bag containing counterfeit currency. I believe she intends to use it for illegal purposes. You may wish to investigate further. No signature. Just a blank envelope. I mailed it at a drop box outside a Walmart 3 towns away. The game was shifting now, and they had no idea the floor was about to collapse beneath them. All I had to do now was wait for the sirens. They came just after midnight. 2 squad cars. No lights, no sirens. Quiet like they were casing something fragile. The kind of entrance that wasn't meant to startle but to catch. I watched from a small hill behind the motel, crouched in brush, binoculars steady in my hands, every breath slow and measured. The front desk clerk was already outside, nervously wringing her hands. Young girl, probably making minimum wage and hating every second of this. She pointed toward room 18. One of the officers nodded and approached. The knock was soft, but I felt it in my spine. 3 short taps. A pause. Then again. Inside, the light flipped on. Through the thin curtain, I saw movement. Erica's shadow crossing the room. She didn't open the door immediately. Of course not. She was probably scrambling, trying to stash the bag, trying to wipe her face clean of guilt. But the thing about panic is, it sticks to you. You can't scrub it off fast enough. When she finally opened the door, she was barefoot, hair messy, tank top pulled hastily over one shoulder. She looked different, smaller. The confidence was gone. The officer spoke. I couldn't hear it, but I saw his stance. Calm, casual, but his hand was already near his belt. Erica stood frozen in the doorway. Then she stepped aside, let them in. I couldn't see inside the room, but I didn't need to. They'd find the bag under the bed. She wasn't clever enough to hide it better than that. And once they unzipped it, all those fake bills, so realistic until you looked close, would tell their own story. The GPS chip would be hidden too well for them to find in a quick sweep, but the audio transmitter? I made sure that one was obvious. Cracked open dollar bill, wires peeking out just enough. A red blinking light. Suspicious enough to make them stop smiling. 10 minutes later, she came out in handcuffs. No struggle. No shouting. Just stunned silence. Her eyes scanned the lot, maybe hoping Nathan would show up, maybe realizing he wasn't coming, maybe wondering if he was behind the setup. That was the beauty of it. She couldn't be sure. She burned too many bridges to trace the smoke back to just one source. I zoomed in on her face, and I saw it. That flicker. That first tiny crack of fear. She wasn't angry yet. That would come later. First would be confusion, then disbelief, then rage. They loaded her into the back of the car and drove off. I waited 10 minutes, made sure no one lingered, then approached room 18. Door still ajar. Light still on. She left in a rush. Inside, the place was a mess, blankets half off the bed, a towel on the floor, makeup bag spilled across the bathroom counter. The air smelled like motel soap and old perfume. I looked at it all for a moment, soaking in the wreckage. The aftermath of her grand escape plan. And then I saw it. Her phone. It was lying face down on the nightstand. Unlocked. Still warm. I picked it up carefully. Swiped it open. The text thread with Nathan was right there at the top. You said he was passive. You said he'd never fight. Why hasn't the money posted yet? Answer me. Where are you? Last message sent 1 hour before the cops arrived. No response. I opened the location sharing app. She had him pinned. I tapped it. And there it was. Nathan's dot, parked in a gated community 20 miles west, in a cul-de-sac lined with homes worth more than what I made in my first decade of business. His car hadn't moved in 5 hours. I wondered if he was asleep, or if he was just pretending not to see the storm headed his way. I pocketed the phone, wiped down anything I touched, and slipped back into the night. Half an hour later, I was on the side of a dark road, the phone screen lighting my face as I typed a message. To Nathan Willis. From Erica's phone. They took me. Motel. Cops found the bag. I didn't say anything yet. We need to talk. I hit send. Waited. Seconds passed. Then, I'll come in the morning. Lay low. I smiled. He still thought she was holding the cards. Still thought she might keep her mouth shut. Still thought he could get ahead of this. But by the time morning came, his life would already be on fire. Because the very next text Nathan would get wouldn't be from her. And it wouldn't ask to talk. It would ask, how fast can you run when the walls finally cave in? By sunrise, the air had changed. You know that stillness just before a thunderstorm cracks open the sky? That eerie quiet where birds disappear and wind holds its breath? That's what it felt like driving into Nathan's neighborhood. Gated. Clean. Sterile. Like it was built to keep real life out. But real life was already inside. It was wearing a tailored suit, sleeping in a 4-bedroom rental he couldn't afford to own, and about to wake up to a nightmare with my fingerprints all over it. I parked 2 streets over, walked the rest. No cameras on this side of the community Logan had checked. I knew his house, knew the code he used to open the garage. Erica had sent him a photo of the keypad last month, smugly captioned, "Trust is such a turn-on." Sickening. The house was still dark. No signs of life. I checked the time. 6:17 a.m. Early, but not suspiciously so. I rang the doorbell and stepped back. Waited. No answer. Rang again. Longer this time. Lights flicked on inside. I heard the shuffle of feet, the low thud of someone tripping over furniture in the dark. Then the deadbolt clicked. Nathan opened the door, squinting, half-dressed, jaw clenched. His face collapsed the moment he saw who it was. "Jason," he croaked. "What the hell?" I shoved the phone in his face. Erica's last message still glowing on the screen. They took me. Motel. Cops found the bag. I didn't say anything yet. We need to talk. He went pale. "What is this?" he asked, stepping back. I was darting behind me like he expected backup. "She's gone, Nate," I said softly. Room 18. Cuffed. Carried off like luggage. She had the bag. I don't, he stuttered, wiping a hand down his face. "She told me she handled it. She said it was real." "Did she tell you it was full of blanks?" I stepped inside. He didn't stop me. "Did she tell you there was a tracker in it? An audio transmitter? A fake GPS receipt to a bank account that doesn't exist?" His mouth opened. Nothing came out. I walked past him into the kitchen. Sleek marble counters. Half a bottle of wine and 2 glasses still out. One still had lipstick on the rim. "So," I said, setting the phone down. "Let's talk." He didn't move. I could feel the wheels turning in his head, trying to calculate how much I knew, how much he could deny, what version of the story he could pitch that might save his skin. But I wasn't here for an apology. I was here for confession. "You think this is about the money?" I asked. "It's not. I don't care about the money. I made that deal knowing she'd take the bait. I counted on it. But you? I stepped closer, voice low now. You I trusted. We built careers side by side. I covered your ass in school. Loaned you my truck when yours got repoed. And this is how you thank me. His face tightened, a flicker of the old Nathan sparking up. You never knew her, he muttered. No, I said, voice cold. You never did. He lunged suddenly. Not at me, at the phone. I snatched it back just in time. You don't get to play cleanup crew now, I warned. She's in custody. She thinks you set her up. The cops found the fake bills. The mic. They're probably printing out photos of your car in the motel lot as we speak. Nathan staggered back against the counter, hands gripping the edge like it was the only thing keeping him upright. I can fix this, he whispered. No, Nathan, I said, inching closer. I'm going to fix this. You're going to do exactly what I tell you for the next 24 hours, or you're going to prison with her. He looked up, eyes bloodshot, lips twitching like he wanted to scream. What do you want? He spat. Money? My business? A public apology? I leaned in until our faces were inches apart. I want you, I said, to fall hard. I want everyone you conned, everyone who ever smiled at your fake charm, to see you drown. I want to be the reason your name turns to ash in this town. And I want you to thank me while it happens. He opened his mouth again, but I held up a hand. I've already sent anonymous tips to the SEC, I said. They're sniffing around. All it takes is a nudge. One leak from inside your company, your assistant, maybe, and you'll be buried under investigations by noon. He paled again. I walked past him to the living room, picked up the folder I planted there 2 days ago. Proof of falsified expenses. Fake client invoices. Erica had emailed me the templates. She thought I'd be dumb enough not to notice her forwarding them from his domain. You'll go to the police today, I said. You'll confess that Erica stole the money. You'll claim she promised to double it through an offshore investment. Say she manipulated you. Say you were in too deep and scared to come forward. You'll cry. You'll beg. And if I don't? I smiled. You'll still burn. But you'll do it alone. He stared at me, something crumbling behind his eyes. Not guilt. Not sorrow. Just the slow, dawning horror of a man who finally saw the trap and realized he walked into it willingly. I'll do it, he said. I nodded. Good. I walked to the door. Paused. One more thing, I said over my shoulder. She asked you to run with her, didn't she? He didn't answer. I turned to face him. You should have. Then I left him standing there, barefoot in a kitchen full of ghosts, watching the last moments of his empire tick away like seconds on a bomb. And the best part? I wasn't even done yet. By noon, the story was everywhere. Small at first. A tweet from a local journalist who sniffed something unusual in the police scanner feed. Unconfirmed reports of counterfeit cash seizure in Meadowbrook. One female in custody. Developing. Then a Facebook post from the motel clerk's sister. Then Reddit. Then fire. People love a good scandal. Especially when it's wrapped in a pretty face and a rich zip code. By early afternoon, news vans were already parked outside the precinct. Erica's mugshot, dazed, hollow, mascara smudged like a raccoon that got caught raiding a bank, hit the feeds by 2:15. 1,000 retweets in under 10 minutes. They used words like suspected fraud, counterfeit operation, possible co-conspirator. No names yet, but I knew it was only a matter of time. And Nathan? Oh, he played his part beautifully. He walked into the police station at 3:07 p.m., alone, jacket wrinkled just enough to seem like he hadn't slept, eyes red for my drops or real tears. I didn't care which. I watched it all from the parking lot across the street, camera lens steady, recording every step. I had sent Logan the confession script that morning. We kept it simple. Nathan claimed Erica had manipulated him into helping her move money for a too-good-to-be-true investment scheme. That she'd begged him to assist with the pickup, swore it was clean. That he hadn't known it was fake until it was too late. That he was scared, ashamed, overwhelmed. That he wanted to come clean. And when they asked why now, he'd say, because I loved her. And she used me. Disgusting. But believable. He walked out 40 minutes later. No cuffs. No perp walk. Not yet. The cops weren't sure if he was a pawn or a player, and he was betting everything on that line staying blurry. It wouldn't. Not for long. By 4:30, Logan messaged me. They're holding Erica overnight. Arraignment tomorrow. Nathan's being watched. IRS just pinged his firm. Perfect. I turned off the phone and drove. Not home. Not yet. I needed distance. Not because I was nervous, it was over now, but because I wanted space to enjoy this. To savor the slow, deliberate implosion. I stopped at a quiet overlook an hour out of town. Hills rolled for miles. The sun was dipping low, golden fire across the treetops. I stepped out of the car, stretched, breathed. And I laughed. It started low, tight in the chest, but then it cracked open. Not manic. Not broken. Just pure. Like the pressure of the last 6 months finally released. I'd done it. I hadn't just exposed them, I unmade them. Carefully. Cleanly. Without laying a single hand in violence. I let their greed, their arrogance, their lust pull them down like weights around their ankles. But there was still one thing left. The final message. The thing that would burn into their bones long after the headlines faded. I opened the burner phone. Made a new contact. Name, Erica Stone. Number, her old personal cell, still active, now in police hands. Monitored. Recorded. I typed slowly. Deliberately. How does it feel? Sent. Waited. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then, shockingly, she responded. Who is this? I stared at the screen. Let the silence thicken. Then I answered. The man who gave you the bag. Typing bubbles. Stopped. Typing again. Jason. Another bubble. You set me up? I didn't reply. But I did send one final message. You didn't lose 10 million. You lost the one man who would have given it to you for free. Delivered. No reply. I powered down the phone, snapped the SIM card in half, and tossed both into the ravine. It was done. Erica would spend the next 24 hours trying to sell a story that no one would buy. Nathan would try to lawyer his way out while the walls closed in. The SEC would dig. The IRS would probe. Prosecutors would build a timeline. And me? I'd finally be free of them both. But not forgotten. Because in the end, the note she left me that morning still sat in my desk drawer. Starting over. That's what she said. She had no idea she was handing me exactly what I needed. And now? Now it was my turn to start over. On my terms. By the next morning, the chaos was no longer a fire, it was a storm. My name hadn't been dragged into it. Not yet. Not publicly. I'd made sure of that. I was the business partner vaguely referenced in a few articles, the former associate, whose deal closed just days before the arrest. Clean. Quiet. A shadow in the background. But everything else was unraveling faster than I expected and far more beautifully. Erica's arraignment was brief. 2 counts, possession of counterfeit currency with intent to distribute, and conspiracy to defraud. No bail. Flight risk. The judge didn't even blink. She stood in that box in a beige prison jumpsuit 2 sizes too big, her hair flat and unwashed, eyes hollow. I watched from the last row of the courtroom, ball cap low, shades on. She didn't see me, but she looked for me. That was enough. Nathan wasn't there. His lawyer was. Slimy guy in a $1,000 suit with 2 white teeth and eyes like a vulture waiting to see if there'd be anything left to pick from the corpse. He requested separation of charges. Claimed his client had been duped by a manipulative romantic partner with a history of deceptive behavior. Bold, but not enough. Outside the courthouse, the media swarmed. Who is Jason Reed? They asked. I walked right past the chaos, no one recognizing me. It was poetic. Back at home, I sat in my office, same desk, same chair, same view, but everything felt different. Lighter. I opened the drawer and stared at the note again. Starting over. I traced the letters with my thumb. You really have to respect the nerve it took to write that. She thought it was a mic drop. A final word. But she hadn't written the ending. I had. My phone buzzed. Logan again. You're going to want to see this. He sent a link. News blog. Local but growing. The kind of site that lives for scandal and sources its leads from whispered elevator gossip and hacked emails. The headline stopped my breath for a second, not out of shock, but out of admiration. Willis Empire collapsing. Internal whistleblower details fraud, misuse of client funds. I clicked it. The first paragraph was blistering. A former employee, anonymous, but clearly coached, claimed Nathan had been funneling investment money into private accounts, backdating reports, and forging performance metrics. No direct proof yet, but enough specifics to trigger audits. The blog included a list of clients. Several were already reviewing their relationship with Willis Financial Group. I leaned back and grinned. Logan had gone the extra mile. We had the paperwork to back up the claims. We'd been sitting on it for weeks. The whistleblower? A temp I hired through a shell LLC and embedded for a month with one purpose, to quietly pull the pins from every grenade. Now they were all going off at once. Another ping. Email this time. From Private Client, Wilson and Marsh LLP. Subject, Legal Notice, Jason Reed. I opened it. A cease and desist. They were trying to trace the leak to me. I laughed out loud. Too late. The machine was already in motion. The article had gone viral. News sites across the region were reposting. Clients were demanding answers. Investors were panicking. The stock of Nathan's public holdings? Down 14% in a single morning. I sent one final package. Anonymous. Mailed straight to the Department of Justice. Inside, a USB drive, burner documents, voice recordings, internal emails. No fingerprints. No trail. Nothing to tie me, but everything to end him. And then, I waited. At 4:43 p.m., Nathan's house was swarmed. Not cops, feds. Black SUVs. Jackets with yellow letters. I had my feet on the desk, sipping whiskey. Watching the live feed someone streamed on Twitter from across the street. Breaking. Feds at Willis residence. Sources say white-collar charges pending. They pulled him out in cuffs. He looked shocked. Lost. Not angry, betrayed. As if he really thought he could dance through hell and come out unseen. Erica was watching too, I was sure. From a jail cell. From a screen bolted to the wall. Maybe she cried. Maybe she laughed. But whatever she felt, she now knew one thing with absolute clarity. It wasn't Nathan who betrayed her. And it wasn't the police who buried them. It was me. The man she left behind. The one who gave her the bag. And she still hadn't realized. I hadn't even played my final move. The morning after Nathan's arrest, I woke to the sound of birds. Not sirens. Not vibrating phones. Not some breathless voice on the other end whispering panic through the receiver. Just birds. And silence. The world was still. And that's how I knew the apex had passed. The crescendo had peaked. The empire was falling now on its own weight. I didn't need to push anymore. I could just watch. Let it crumble brick by brick, all while I drank my coffee in peace. But there was still one last thread. Loose. Dangerous. And too tempting not to pull. Erica. She'd been transferred to the county facility overnight. High profile enough to keep separate, but not important enough to shield from the press. Her lawyer had requested an emergency bond hearing. It was denied. Too risky. Too volatile. She was in deep, and the prosecutors were already holding meetings to explore turning her on Nathan, or turning Nathan on her. It was only a matter of who'd break first. But they were missing the point. They thought this was about money. It wasn't. This was personal. And Erica still owed me a face-to-face. So I made a call. Not to her. Not to her lawyer. Not to the court. To someone who owed me a favor. Favors matter in my world. The kind that don't get written down. The kind that sit in the dark until you say the magic words. By noon, I had a visitor badge and 15 minutes. They brought her into the room wearing cuffs. Wrist chained to her waist. An orange jumpsuit that made her look faded, drained of every illusion she used to wear like armor. The woman who once dripped in designer silk now looked like a character stripped of script and makeup. Just raw flesh and nerves. She sat across from me in a plastic chair. Eyes locked to mine. Didn't speak. Didn't blink. I leaned forward. Hi, sweetheart. She flinched, barely. But I saw it. Her throat moved, swallowing whatever pride she had left. You did this, she said, voice low. Wrong, I replied. You did this. I just handed you the pin. She scoffed. You set me up. You trapped me. You left me, I said softly. You lied. Cheated. Took what wasn't yours. I gave you every chance to walk away clean. But you needed more. Always more. Don't preach to me, Jason, she snapped. You think you're the victim? You think you're noble in all this? I smiled. Not wide. Not cruel. Just knowing. I'm not the victim. I'm the architect. She looked away for the first time. Stared down at her shackled hands. They're going to flip Nathan, she muttered. They'll throw me under the bus. No, I said. Nathan's done. They found the accounts. The doctored ledgers. The Cayman Shell Companies. He's radioactive. A pause. She looked up, eyes rimmed red. And me? I shrugged. You've got two choices. Take the fall and rot. Or turn witness and drag Nathan down further. They'll offer you a deal. /time. Supervised release. Maybe you'll walk out in 5-6 years. She blinked slowly. No matter what happens, I added, you'll never get close to anyone like me again. You'll never be what you pretended to be. I gestured around the room. This is the last version of you that anyone will remember. Silence stretched like wire. Then she asked, quietly, why? And for the first time in a long, long time, I told the truth. Because I loved you. That landed like a stone. She looked down again, eyes glassed over. And I let her sit in that. Let her feel it. The weight of what she destroyed. The silence between us was heavier than any insult she could have thrown. A guard knocked on the glass. Time's up. I stood slowly, walked to the door. But before I stepped out, I looked back one last time. She was still sitting there, still chained, still trying to figure out how a woman so clever could be outplayed by the one man she thought was weak. I didn't smile. I didn't speak. I just left her with the truth, and the truth was louder than any revenge I could have screamed. And outside, the sky was blue. My car was waiting, and the next chapter of my life had just begun writing itself. The day the headline dropped, I knew the game was over. Not for me. For them. For the story they'd tried to write behind my back. The secret chapters they whispered to each other in motel rooms, behind burner phones, under bedsheets soaked in betrayal. It dropped at 9:03 a.m., syndicated across 3 major networks, a bold font screaming through every news feed and office breakroom TV in the city. Couple's million-dollar scam unravels. Love, lies, and counterfeit cash. Right there, front and center, 2 mugshots. Erica's, sharp cheekboned, defiant, her once perfect smile warped into a sneer caught mid-collapse. Nathan's, swollen-eyed, cuffed in a tailored suit, the lapel of his blazer twisted like it knew it didn't belong on a criminal. The article was merciless. The prosecutor's office had decided to go for a full public teardown. They released statements, timelines, pieces of audio. Not all of it, of course. They still had trials ahead. But just enough for the world to connect the dots. Fake investments. Disappearing funds. Misappropriated client portfolios. Money laundering. And, of course, her, Erica Stone, the alleged romantic conspirator who carried the counterfeit bag, the GPS device, and the last shred of dignity either of them had. The best part? The story had legs. Morning shows ran panel discussions. Experts speculated on motivations, reading body language from surveillance footage and courtroom clips. Twitter lit up with hashtags. Everyone had a take. Everyone thought they understood what happened. But they didn't know about me. Because in every article, every segment, every theory, my name was nowhere. I wasn't the jilted husband. I wasn't the betrayed investor. I was a ghost. A myth. A question mark. Somebody had orchestrated it. Yes. But no one could prove who. The documents were clean. The tips were anonymous. The planted whistleblower vanished after delivering just enough damage to burn Nathan's firm to the ground. Even the audio logs had been stripped of metadata. And the letter, the one mailed to the authorities that first night? Typewritten. No prints. No trace. I watched the media storm from a distance. In a cabin up north. Quiet lake. Trees whispering secrets to the wind. Coffee brewed over firewood and poured into a mug that read, breathe, then aim. Every once in a while, I check my phone. See their names trending again. See a new indictment. A new piece of evidence. A fresh leak from a confidential source. I fed carefully selected truths. Nathan pled not guilty. Of course he did. Hired a shark attorney, promised he'd fight to the last breath. But the jury would see it. They always do. And Erica? She broke. Exactly 14 days after our meeting. Took the deal. Confessed to wire fraud, conspiracy, and possession of counterfeit currency. Gave up names, timelines, emails. She even gave them his off-the-books client list. It was like watching a drowning woman throw bricks at the man who pushed her overboard. They gave her 8 years. With good behavior? Maybe she'd do 5. Maybe. I watched her plea hearing from my phone. She wore a beige suit, court-appointed, her hair down to hide her face. She read a prepared statement. Something about regret, about manipulation, about being used. It was almost convincing, but I could see it, right there in her hands, trembling just slightly, her fingers curling and uncurling against the podium. She wasn't sorry. She was humiliated. And humiliation, in people like Erica, leaves deeper scars than prison. That night, I walked out to the lake. Moon high, water black and glassy. And I finally let it out. All of it. The anger, the ache, the betrayal, the months of pretending I didn't know, of sleeping beside her while her heart beat for someone else, of wondering if I was imagining it, of convincing myself to wait just a little longer for proof. But mostly, I let out the victory. Not loud, not in shouts or cheers. Just breath. Long, slow, honest. I had done what most men only fantasize about in the dark. I didn't just survive betrayal. I owned it, bent it to my will. And in the process, I made sure the people who tried to bury me would spend the rest of their lives choking on dirt. I walked back inside. The fire crackled low. And tomorrow? Tomorrow I'd disappear again. Not because I had to, but because I could. And the best revenge was never being found. 1 year later, I stood in the same city I once called home. Not to return, just to watch it burn from a distance. The headlines had moved on, of course. Scandals fade fast. Public memory is shallow, and news stories grow like weeds in summer soil. But their names, Erica Stone and Nathan Willis, still hung in the air like smoke. One sentenced, one awaiting trial. Two ghosts trapped in a cage of their own making. I stood across from the courthouse plaza, where crowds used to gather, where reporters screamed questions and cameras blinked like angry insects. Now it was quiet. Just concrete, pigeons, and that faint echo of justice still whispering through the wind. I wasn't there for them. I was there to say goodbye. Not to a person, not to a marriage, but to the version of me that died the day Erica slipped that note on the table and disappeared with a bag she thought held the rest of her life. Starting over. She wrote it like a warning, like a threat, like she was the one holding the power. But she never understood something very simple. You don't start over by erasing your past. You start over by owning it. I rebuilt everything. New name, new state, new business, this time solo, quieter, smarter. A consulting firm built from scratch, lean and clean, hidden beneath layers even my former self would struggle to untangle. I kept my face out of everything. No interviews, no posts, no footprints. Freedom is a strange thing. Not loud, not flashy. It's quiet. Like sleeping without checking your phone. Like walking into a room and not flinching when someone says your name. Like knowing the two people who betrayed you are sitting in two very different kinds of cages, one steel, the other psychological, and that you put them there without lifting a single violent hand. That's freedom. I kept one thing from the old life. The note. Framed now. Hangs above my desk in a glass box, next to a simple brass plate that reads, "She started over." So did I. Every time I look at it, I remember what it cost to become this man. I remember what I gave up. And I remember what I'll never let anyone take from me again. The final loose end came in the form of a letter. No return address. Handwritten. Sloppy. Nervous strokes. From prison. "I still don't understand how you did it," it read. "But I understand why. I used to think you were too soft. Too trusting. But now I know you were just quiet. Still water. Deep. And I drowned in it. There was no apology. Just an ending. I burned it. Not out of hate, but because it wasn't needed. Some stories are better without epilogues. And mine? It ended exactly where it should have. With the woman who tried to destroy me behind bars. The man who helped her sinking deeper every day into legal hell. And me, reborn, vanished, smiling at a world that never even saw the blade. She thought I'd crumble. She thought I'd chase her. She thought I'd beg. But the truth is, she was never running from me. She was running toward the trap I built with her name on it. And by the time she realized, I was already gone.